Up next is Keith Hughes with an all-new Snapshot.
Welcome to Snapshot, where we take a local look at the government stories that you may have missed. U.S. Senator for Massachusetts Ed Markey was in Plymouth May 6th for a field hearing hosted by the Environment and Public Works Subcommittee on Clean Air, Climate, and Nuclear Safety, which he chairs.
Well, the intent of the hearing was to ensure that the Nuclear Regulatory Commission and Holtec, who are responsible for the safety of the decommissioning of the Pilgrim nuclear power plant, know that they are watched, that they're going to be held accountable, that the safety of this community is not going to be compromised, and that they will not also be put at financial risk if there's a failure in this effort. So that was the purpose of the hearing, and we're going to keep on this case for as long as it takes to make sure the NRC does its job.
Representatives from the NRC and Holtec, along with Senator Susan Moran and others, gave testimony on the decommissioning process and concerns of local communities.
I think it was very important that the community be here, that they be heard, that Holtec and its CEO be no longer some distant figure, but someone who was there and hearing the concerns of the community. And it's not over. It just begins here. This accountability must be intensified to make sure that the NRC and Holtec know that they cannot compromise the safety of the residents of Pilgrim or Plymouth.
Also in attendance at the hearing was U.S. Representative Bill Keating, who represents Plymouth and other communities along the South Shore, South Coast, and the Cape.
What we want out of this is really accountability and making sure that one of the most important generational issues, maybe multi-generational issues, is dealt with.
The hearing was covered by PAC TV and can be seen on your local government channel. For playtimes, visit pactv.org. For over a century, the Hedge Elementary School has stood at the corner of Standish Avenue and Cherry Street, as much a historic landmark as it is a vital part of the town's educational system. Recently, shifts in enrollment across the district, along with future facility upkeep, were among the factors leading the town's redistricting advisory committee to propose closing Hedge Elementary and diverting its student population to nearby schools. To residents opposing the measure, changing schools would be one more disruption for students already impacted by 2 years of COVID-19 protocols. Some were concerned about the possible impact on the town's burgeoning English learning population. And for most, losing a piece of Plymouth's history was an outcome they weren't willing to accept. After hearing from residents, the committee voted unanimously against closing the Hedge School as part of any redistricting measure at their next meeting. Superintendent Christopher Campbell assured those in attendance that even if the Hedge School does close at some point in the future, the town would not sell it to developers as some had feared, and would possibly convert it into a community center. We recently met up with David Gould, Director of Marine and Environmental Affairs for the town of Plymouth, to learn about what's happening along Town Brook and the eDNA program they're participating in.
Hi everyone, I'm David Gould, Director of Marine and Environmental Affairs for the town of Plymouth. We're here in Brewster Gardens along Town Brook on a beautiful spring morning. And one of the things we're looking at today is the pit tag antenna that you see just underneath the footbridge in Brewster Gardens. And a pit tag is a passive integrated transponder. And what that is a small device that we actually insert within the river herring right into their belly. We'll take some measurements, how long they are, how much they weigh, if it's a male or female. And when we insert that pit tag, what it allows us to do is that when the fish go through these antennas, it tells us when they went through, how quickly they're up to the next antenna, how much time they spend in the upper part of the watershed when they're spawning, and it also gives us all the data when they come back downstream as to when they're leaving to head back out to the ocean. So that little transponder gives us an awful lot of information. What it's allowed us to do in the past, especially up at the skateboard park, is it told us that when we did our pre-construction pit tag study, that about 27% of the fish that entered the existing fish ladder up there got past the dam, but when the dam was removed and the river restored, we got fish passage up to 96%. So we know that that dam removal and river restoration project was successful. So here at the Jenny Gristmill, we have our eel trap. And so this eel trap connects to Town Brook via a small ramp and we pump water down that ramp, and it has a media that allows the small glass eels to climb up. And when they climb up, they'll drop into this tank, and then we'll do a count, and we'll transport them upstream because they can't actually get over the dam. So one of the unique features of the bypass is that it will not only pass increased storm flows through the limited spillway of this dam, but it'll provide upstream and downstream migration improvements for the river herring and the eels, which currently have very difficult time getting over the dam into the upper part of the watershed. So we've had a couple years where we've had over 40,000 glass eels come in to this very tank that we then count and are able to move upstream. So this has been a pretty neat success story for us, and to see them in this early phase of their life is a really neat opportunity. We're here at Jenny Pond, and behind me is our camera box. That camera holds our live stream camera, so as fish swim from Town Brook up the fish ladder Jenny Gristmill, they'll come out into the pond area and they'll swim through this camera box. There's a live stream underwater camera there that shows all the fish going by. It records it live to the web, so if you ever want to just watch the herring run without leaving your home, you can actually just go on and you can actually see all the fish migrating at that particular moment in time. You can also go back and look at videos that we've collected where fish are going by in different time frames, and you can actually do those counts, and we use those counts to help our population estimate for that year. This year we're actually entering into a new phase of our monitoring, which is using eDNA, which is a relatively new process and a new technique that has a lot of promise. And essentially what we're doing is collecting water samples both downstream and upstream of Jenny. The reason for that is hopefully in the next year or two we'll be able to do a project. We'll create a bypass around the dam, which will allow aquatic organisms to get around the dam for the first time in 400 years. And what we're trying to do right now is collect pre-project data. So to find out what exact organisms are within the watershed, especially the upper part of the watershed, that they're closed off by the presence of the dam, so that when the bypass is in place and organisms can get by freely, we can find out what's actually taking advantage of that opportunity. These are the kind of changes that if you're not actually going out and trying to study and analyze them, you won't know about. And so this is why we've done so much analysis and so much research after our projects, just trying to see the full impact of what they're doing, not only for us, but sharing that information with lots of other state and federal agencies and other nonprofits and watershed groups.
You may have noticed a couple of new shows on the Community and Plymouth government channels. Looking Forward with our senior centers is a bi-weekly show featuring the directors and activity directors of the Councils on Aging, highlighting upcoming events and programs that may be of interest to community members. You can watch the show throughout the week on PAC TV's community channel and on the Local Scenes YouTube channel. Also new to our schedule is This Week in Plymouth. Featuring Plymouth Town Manager Derek Brindisi, this show aims to inform residents of what's happening in town and share current updates and information. You can watch it on Plymouth's government channel as well as PAC TV's YouTube channel. Thanks for watching this edition of Snapshot. I'm Keith Hughes, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe button below before you go. We'll see you next time.